Hey guys, and welcome back to a new tutorial. Today I want to show you how you can install Metal Gear Solid 2 on PC, and especially how to fix it with these mods that are very useful, and especially I will explain also how you can install the SOS mod, or the Subsistence mod. That mod allows you to use also a free camera that's a little bit over the shoulder, just like it did with Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, but for Metal Gear Solid 2. So stay tuned and let's get through it step by step. If you have the disk version, just install it as usual in a place where you can find it again. So for my example, I just double click MGS2 setup, and I'm going to follow the install instructions. What you want to do is you want to install this feature and let Windows do its thing. If you already have a copy of the game on GOG, it's even easier. GOG will install everything for you. Just follow along as you see here. I'm just going to go to install, next, say yes. And where you want to install your game is up to you. I personally want to have it on my D drive because that's specifically for games. I'm going to go to games here, and I already made a Metal Gear Solid 2 folder. So that's why I'm going to install it, just because it's easier. Click on next, say the full game, and then install. And there we go. Now that it's done, just click finish. And you see Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance on your PC like this. What you want to do is you're going to right click and open file location. That will automatically give you the folder where the game has been installed into. Actually, the game is not just the Metal Gear Solid 2. Main part of the game is in bin. That's where like the exe is to launch it from and everything. And now we technically could play, but there are mods that we need. And I'm going to show you now how to install these next. The next website that you want to visit is 𝐵𝑠Fix repository here on GitHub. The link will be in the video description down below. 𝐵𝑠Fix is a collection of fixes that have been made for Metal Gear Solid 2's PC version. It also comes with its own launcher and its own setting, and especially allows us to also rebind stuff. Much easier. What we can do is we're going to go to the releases on the side here. When you go from the side, that's where the releases are. And there are many different ways where we can install the game from. So it's version 1.81 you want, use that. This will be one that feels much more closer to the HD version, but sadly we don't have the HD textures. The textures will be just like they came with the Substance release. For speedrunners, I can also recommend an older version. Something that I personally use is version 1.72. It's a little bit different and has a funny audio glitch where audio in the credits comes from the left channel only, and also voices will be much louder, so keep that in mind. But from the gameplay feel here, it's really much better when I speedrun this version. But for most people that just want to play the game, I really recommend just getting version 1.81. So just click on that, go down here, and at the very end where it says assets, download this zip file. As it has downloaded, drag the MGS2 setup.exe over into the bin folder where Metal Gear Solid is hosted in, and say yes to replace the file in the destination. What you want to do next now is start the game once. So we're going to use the MGS2 as setup, and then the game will automatically install fixes for us. So 𝐵𝑠Fix will now run some extra applications for patching the game into the 2.0 version. And we see in the background already stuff is being loaded. Now initially you want to change also a few more things. So go in the settings and check your resolution that you have that. I usually play in window mode, so that's why I want to keep it on. And I'm going to use a different program to get it into full screen again. I personally had some issues and game crashes when I was playing the game in direct full screen, so having this set to window mode, I'm going to show you later how to make it full screen again, helped me a lot. Under controls, you want to also configure your input devices. So you click here, and on the gamepads, what I usually use is the DualShock 4. And here you can select between PS2 type, where if you swing your sword with the right stick, and if you press it in, that's when you stab. And there's V's type, where you can swing your sword and toggle first-person view with a press. I personally prefer PS2 type. Now, what most speedrunners do is that they use the Xbox controller, or even if they use a DualShock 4 or DualSense controller, they're going to use a different program to make the computer think, oh, this is an Xbox controller. This program is called DS for Windows. So first of all, we're going to go to Xbox and select PS2 type here, and then I'm just going to confirm and go back. After that, click on Graphics. There's different resolutions here. If you go to 8K, the game can be a bit buggy in my experience. I always leave it to 2K. You can crank everything up to high if you want, but I personally don't really like most of these effects. There's one more thing, especially if you're a speedrunner. Speedrunners tend to set the effect quality to low. Just know that if you are bleeding and the effect quality is set to low, it can happen that the game crashes. This is called the bleed bug. If you want to avoid that, set it at least to medium. After that, everything should be fine. Primary sound driver is usually the thing that we use here. And open VSfix after playing the game, I always set that to off because I never want to see this screen again. It's a one-time setup and I never want to see it again. Click on save, and we could technically already play here with start. You've seen already the launcher has made many more settings here. But what I want to suggest to you is that you don't play via this VSfix launcher. So I'm just going to exit it. And what usually works best for me is opening directly this MGS2_SSE.exe file. You can even send it to your desktop if you want and create a shortcut that way. Now this may not look nice, but you can rename it at least. So you can call it MGS2, Substance, for example. And if you right-click this shortcut and go to Properties, you can even change the icon by changing icon here. You browse and have an IACO file like I have here. I have a certain set of files here. I can, for example, set it to writen.ico. Apply and OK. Now I have it look like this. You can get these icons, for example, in our Speedrunner Discord over on MGSR. Just go to metalgearspeedrunners.com and follow the Discord link on the website, or just Google for it. We have a separate channel for just Metal Gear Solid 2, and also there we have these icons linked if you want them. If I click now, I'm going to open the MGS2 SSE, and it should open the game like this. As I said, it will be in window mode. You can double click the window bar up here to make it already maximized, but it will still not be in full screen. So there's another app that you can install in order to make it an actual full screen game after this. For this, I recommend using the Borderless Gaming app. It's a very simple app. You can install it. It will run in the background. What it basically does is this. If I have Borderless Gaming running, I can just open it like this. And on applications, you can go and set Metal Gear Solid 2 and use this third box here. It makes the currently selected application borderless. And that way, now the game is in full screen borderless, or rather windowed borderless full screen mode, however you want to say. In this mode, you can also tap out of the game. You can click somewhere else and it won't crash. It's the most reliable way how I play this game, so it doesn't crash if I need to tap out, for example, during a stream. And that's why I recommend that version. Still full screen, but it doesn't crash because it's not in window mode. It's just actual full screen. It happens to crash more for me. But okay, press escape. Now we can close the game. We can minimize Borderless Gaming here. And this is basically how you can already play Metal Gear Solid 2. Now, I want to show you how speedrunners install certain mods that help them even further. And after that, I'm going to show you also how you can additionally to everything else install the SOS mod. If you're just interested in the SOS mod, check out the description down below. There's a timestamp that you can jump to, and then I will show you directly how to install the SOS mod. These sets of ASI plugins is basically a set of mods inside of a mod. I'm going to download it and open it. We will then go and open the folder that we already used here where the game is installed. And we notice after you launch the game for the first time, there's now additionally also a folder called scripts. In this scripts folder, we have already a few files. And here with the updated ASI files, we can also use even more scripts, basically. This is MGS2.ASI file. Just basically just put a notepad here, just a set of code that allows us to work on it. And of course, because it's encrypted, we cannot just read it out with a notepad. But what is cool is that we have another folder called MGS2.config files. Inside here are certain settings that we can use. These are just text files. So if you go, for example, to, I don't know, let's say timer, and open that in the text editor, we can see, aha, it is literally just a text file like this. And with these text files, we can then set up stuff that's in the mod here and can have the game behave differently. Now, what speedrunners usually do is a certain set of mods that I'm going to quickly go through. There are even more in there. They're fully described on the website, as we can see here, but feel free to do anything you want. But I'm going to go quickly through the standard settings of overlays that we want to have. So what I usually do is that I'm going to go and copy first off MGS2.ini, the general ini setting, new game info, no quit prompt, performance, soft reset, text change, timer, turbo, and turbo display. All other files are different things. They impact actually the gameplay behavior, and not all of them are actually legitimate for regular speedruns. So be cautious if you use them for regular speedruns. Copy them with Ctrl-C or just right-click and copy, and then go back to a scripts file and just insert these files here. And now we can actually go through all of the standard settings. First off, the MGS2.ini. It's a very simple file, as we can see here. You can just say turn all the mods off by saying no. You can save the file, and now all mods are turned off because we want to have them active. Next up is the new game info. There's really not much there, but what new game info will do is when you launch a new game, or a new game plus, of course, plus, you see also warnings. So you have enabled here, show warnings. Hey, there's a mod installed that you don't want to use, and other things. There's notices and more. Everything is also additionally explained in the top of these text files. Then we have the no quit prompt. It's a very simple thing. If you have this file enabled, when you press escape or Alt F4 while playing MGS2, it won't ask you again, do you really want to close the game? For speedrunners, sometimes it's just easier to press escape and then start again. And speaking of starting again, I'm going to skip performance for a second. There's also soft reset. Here with soft reset, it's a very simple thing. You can basically just use a certain combination of button presses, which are on the PlayStation controller, L1, R1, L2, and R2, plus start. So all shoulder buttons plus start. Same principle also on Xbox controller. That way, if you reset a run, you can just press those, and then you come back again to the boot screen where the Metal Gear Solid 2 game launches again. It's definitely faster because during a gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 2, you cannot just open the menu and then close out of the game. You sadly have to take a continue and then confirm that you want to quit. So this soft reset is way faster if you want to reset a run. You just need to put it in there and have it enabled with yes. So basically just copy it over and everything will be set. There's another thing here that we can have, and that is performance. Performance also shows you different things like, hey, do we have the right FPS counter and the frame time? Now this is not really required. I personally don't even use it, but if you want to look into it, you can do that. For this purpose, I will actually delete it again, but I still wanted to mention it for you. Going down to text change. Text change is more of a flair. With the text change file, you can basically just change your live name. So I'm going to call it now, instead of live, just house test, save it. I think I have to even do capitalized letters. So there we go. Just save this file, and then when we open the game, instead of having live in the top left, it will say my username. Now the next file is one of the most important ones. Timer. For speedrunners, the timer is everything. And in this list here, we have certain settings. We have a timer that just shows you the in-game time on screen. A very useful thing, especially if you don't want to have live split in your screen, but you still want to show your audience, for example, what your current time is. Timing ending start time shows you when basically the gameplay part ends and when the credits begin. It's very nice to know sometimes, okay, my gameplay part is over. This is where we actually finished the run, and now it's just around 9 minutes of credits left. And in conjunction with ending start time, we also have timer expected time. The expected time will show you after you do the final hit on Solidus and the credits begin, what should be the final time. We basically just add to the ending start time, or I think 9 minutes, 15, don't quote me on that, but around the 9 minutes that the credits take. Now I have a few settings here to do, and I will quickly go through them very easily. Text visible, just remove the pound sign here. The pound basically makes the rest of it a comment, and the mod will not use it, but if you remove it and there's just the text, then the mod will use the setting. So we've enabled yes, and we want to have this text visible. Same thing also with ending start time and the rest. Precision we can set up to a certain value. Sometimes you want to have only just precision 0, I think that's then full seconds. As you can see here, the number of digits shown for fractions of a second. then you have tens, and then you have hundreds. I personally want to just leave it here too, but it's up to you personally, I think. Same with all the other position values. Now text position here, that's an interesting value. This value does not go if your monitor is 1920 pixels wide and 1080 pixels high. That's not the value that's being used here. If I understand correctly, it's actually half of it. So for Metal Gear Solid 2, the game basically is 960 pixels wide and 540 pixels high. So the middle of your screen would be half of 960 is 480. That will be halfway point. And then the vertical height would be 270. But of course, you don't want to have the text in the middle of your screen, so you usually have it on the borders here. And also additionally, if you start from top to bottom, so the first pixel is on the top, and then the highest value is at the bottom, and then you go from left to right. So the left value is 0, and the right value is 960. That's basically it. After that, we also have text aligned, so you can set it when the numbers are text aligned is left aligned, or center aligned, or right aligned. And additionally, you can also change the color of that text. There's even a little bit more of text format that you can set here, but for me, it's not that important. I'll show you on screen my timer settings now. That basically has them so the timer text is on the top right, with the ending time on the left, and then the expected time in the center, basically. With the ending start time on the left, same with expected time, but they're underneath each other. And I'm going to give you a video example, of course, as well. And there we go. As I will now just hold A and B to skip all the cutscenes thanks to Turbo. You can also see on screen now in the top right corner the ongoing IGT. And on the left, very nicely placed in the black bars, we can see the ending start, basically when the credits begin, and also the expected time after the credits are over. Text color, by the way, is based on HTML. So if you want to use a specific color, you can just Google HTML color picker and say, I don't know, you want to have this shade of blue. Then you copy over this color on the right. In this case, it's 1A, 1AFF. And then you can just put it in there without the pound sign. And then the overlay will render the text in this color. I'm going to leave the link to this site as well in the description down below. Last but not least, you want to set up Turbo. There's two different versions of Turbo. Just as I've said it, there's also VSFix Turbo. If you want to use VSFix version of Turbo, you open the xinput+.ini file, which you can find in the bin folder of your Metal Gear Solid 2 copy. In this, you can just go and find the rapid fire setting. This is rapid fire. You can set the buttons here, for example, A, B, X, and Y. These are all the 4 face buttons, and it uses the Xbox button terminology. You want to have this vertical line in between. Here, the start guide button would be used to turn it on if you're playing on Xbox. But honestly, I think this is just not a good way to do it. The preferred method I use for enabling my Turbo is actually here. I just use the mgs2.turbo.ini file. Turbo is enabled already here with yes, and I want to use a different toggle. The toggle that's used by default here is L1 plus R3, so pressing in the right button. I don't want to use the L1 button, I just want to use R3. So that's why I set this to toggle equal 0400. And if I use the game now and press in the right button, which I usually don't need to do, then Turbo would be turned on or off. There's also Turbo Profile 1, enable at start. I want to use that as well. And frames on 2 as well. I'm going to leave the input mask currently just commented out. Just save this file. And then go over to Turbo Display. Turbo already is working, but Turbo Display is what will actually show you on screen and also with an audible sound that Turbo is now active or inactive. And here we have a few more settings, as we can see. There are 2 different settings. There's Turbo Display in general. This can be the text if you are turning your turbo off. And the Turbo Display Profile 1 then could be that you turn your turbo on. Now there's certain settings in here. And what I want to do is I want to have, when I have turbo on, show on screen that it says turbo on in words. So I want to say text visible yes, which is already selected. And I want to remove the pound sign here and say text content. turbo on. You can set it to whatever you want. Text position and text position Y here. I'm going to copy over from my own file. In that case, it's these two numbers. 638 and 465 will be in the bottom right corner. Now text align, you can also set it's either 0, 1, or 2. In my case, it's 1. And text color, you can also set it to whatever you want. You can set it to FF, FF, FF. So 6 times an F, that will be white. As I explained earlier, you can just use a color picker like this here. So we already have used the color blue here, so I'm going to copy it over. Or will be just 1A, 1A, FF. And you can save it. Now this will only show you actually the text on screen. But what I also prefer is that I'm going to hear a sound that tells me that turbo is on or off. So I don't necessarily always need to peek at the bottom right corner if turbo is on or off. Having both things together is a really good idea, in my personal opinion. So how do you play a sound? Well, play sound says here is the full path to the .wav file. If it's left empty, no sound is used. How do we get a WAV file in the text file? It's very simple. Let's quickly save and minimize this. In this folder, that's usually where I keep my WAV files. And I have two WAV files here, which are from Fallout, and it's just the VATS sound. VATS on and VATS off. I copied them over, but you can use any audio you want. It could be technically the B movie's full script read out if you want. Just make sure that you don't go crazy from that. Because the sounds actually will go and overlay each other if you turn them on and off quickly. I'm just going to use the VAT sounds because that's what we are used to. And how to get this now in the text file is very simple. You can right click and copy it and go to properties. In properties, it says location. You can mark this and copy it with Control-C. And if I go over to the text file, add play sound, you can just insert it like this. So now play sound knows, I got to look at the D drive. I got to go to the folder Metal Gear Solid 2, into folder bin, into folder scripts. And we have to end it, of course, with the audio file name. So what I'm going to add is another slash here. If you can't find it on your keyboard, don't worry. Just mark one here, copy it, and paste it over here. And since I want to have a sound for turbo on and turbo off, I'm going to use VATS off.wav or wave here. And I'm going to use VATS on.wav here, WAV. Now everything's set up in a way that there is no text on screen when I have turbo off, but I still hear the sound to tell me, hey, turbo's off now. And if I have turbo on, there will be on screen now the text turbo on in the bottom right corner with this color in blue, and it will play the VATS on sound. There's also one last thing I needed to change, and that is show X input needs to be set to no in my case, because I'm using the Xbox controller. So for some weird reason, you gotta use show X input equals no into the turbo display.ini file. If I save this now, and now if I launch Metal Gear 2 Substance, and if I press in the right button, turbo should vanish. There you go. And if I turn on the game sound, you can also hear the game's running. And if I press the stick in, that's the VATS on sound. If I press again, that's the VATS off sound. This is how you can toggle on and off turbo, and this is also how you can visually see that the turbo is on or off. That's basically everything I would recommend here for speedrunners. I personally also additionally use the PlayStation 2 mods. So here, PS2 Controls. Just copy them in here. And this mod will basically change it so that X behaves like circle and circle behaves like X, just like it did on PlayStation 2. So you can cancel on X and you can confirm on circle. If you're mostly playing on PS2 or have been used to playing PS2, this is maybe something you want to do. One thing in the main mission is where it doesn't work the same way. When you want to input your name as Raiden in the plant section in the first computer, that's where you still want to hold X in order to skip forward. But other than that, this is a very fun mod and I really personally like it. So that's how you can set up Metal Gear Solid 2 if you just want to play with these fixes, if you want to play as a speedrunner. And last but not least, I want to show you also how to install the SOS mod, so the Subsistence of Substance. Simply go to the GitHub here of Octoxor and get MGS2 SOS. Go to the release once again, and there we can see there's already been a fix posted. Very nice. We're going to go to release.zip and download that zip. We want to put this mods and solid mods loader file into the bin folder. So Metal Solid 2 bin, not into scripts, just in bin. Copy the mods folder and the solid mods loader here and put them in this bin folder. Now what I personally will do is I'm going to make another shortcut. So right click solid mods loader, send to, and then desktop. Now you have a shortcut specifically to the solid mods loader. I'm going to call it MGS2 SOS mod. Once again, if you have the icons, you can just change them here with change icon. And I'm going to use the kernel here. So that way I know this is the SOS mod and this is the regular game. And now all we need to do, this is basically how we installed it. All we need to do is just double click it again. And now the game will launch just like regular Metal Gear Solid 2 with all the mods that we installed beforehand, with these fixes to fix it, and even the speedrun mods if we want. And of course, we can once again use Borderless Gaming here to make this game full screen, as we can see here. And if you launch the game now, say new game, because I have the PS2 mod in now, I can go to tanker, I can go to very easy, radar type 1. Next to turbo, I just need to hold A and B on Xbox or X and circle on the PlayStation controller. And there we go, we're now in Metal Gear Solid 2, but in the SOS mod, and we have basically the camera that we can turn around freely around Snake. If you want to go back to the regular camera, you can hold L1 to just center it here. L1 just basically centers the camera back again. If you press L1 and triangle, that's how you get the regular camera back. So if the camera ever, reverts back to the standard one, press L1 and triangle to go back to this Subsistence mod camera. If you want, you can also use holding L1 and D-pad up, and they can use the right stick here to basically walk Snake around like a tank. Could be useful for you all there if you don't have the experience yet. But yeah, this is how you install the SOS mods and all the others, and this is how you can also use it. If you have trouble with the camera, just press L1 to reset behind its Snake. If you want to revert back to the standard camera, press L1 and triangle. That's also the same way how you can go back again into the SOS mod camera. And now, that's everything. Have fun playing. And of course, if you wanna, give me a follow on Twitter or Mastodon. And of course, check out all my other channels if you want to learn more about speedrunning and watch my speedruns live, maybe on twitch.tv/howsthis. Thank you all for watching and happy playing.